Welcome to Brian's Action Figure Reviews, and today we've got a brand new pop culture interview. Today's guest is a fellow Irish Marvel Legends and Transformers and action figure collector in general. His name is Mick Leonard. He runs his own podcast, and let's get to the interview right now. Welcome back, everyone, to Brian's Action Figure Reviews, and today we've got another pop culture interview. I'm here with my guest, Mick Leonard. Hi, Mick. How are you?
Hi, Brian. How's it going?
Not too bad now.
Good, Brian, I have to say. I love the hair and beard combination.
You know what this
It's
is.
about time you accepted the inevitable that you're a YouTuber, you're a nerd YouTuber now, so shaved head and beard
Just had
is
to
the only
shave it
option.
all off. So I'm going to start real quick. I can see most of your collection behind you, but tell us what you collect.
Well, terrifyingly, Brian, you actually can't see most of my collection behind me. You can only see a tiny portion of it. Hold on, I'll give you a little panoramic
Wow.
around.
Very nice.
We've got quite a lot going on in here. This is the tiny room. This is a spare room in my house. We call it the tiny room, or we call it Chambre Bug. And it is mostly action figures and mostly, to be honest, Transformers. It's probably, I haven't done a count in a couple of years, but I'd say it's probably at least 50% Transformers. Lots of Transformers along here. Some GoBots in here. I can see they're not very shot very well.
GoBots.
GoBots are great. I love
Underrated.
the thing I love. Oh man, these little fellas, the little original GoBots.
Is that
I don't
Turbo?
know that is Stinger. He turns into a Corvette, I think. Same car
nice.
as Trax. I think. But those little figures, they're great. That size, the collectible. They're all kind of uniform. That really speaks to my nerd brain on a level. And those guys are much better than the similar sized Transformers. But that's a whole other interview, Brian.
Exactly,
That's a whole other
totally.
interview. Then we've got a few Generation 1 Transformers over there. Some of the movie fellas are here over my shoulder. On the shelves above them, I've got an almost complete, not quite complete, though some of them snuck by me, but an almost complete Marvel Legends MCU collection. Almost complete.
Some of my Legends watching friends will want to know who you're missing.
It's mostly, to be honest, it's some of the kind of side characters, and I've got every hero, obviously, and every major. Oh, hold on, I don't have every major villain. I'm missing mostly the ones who came in 2-packs with figures that I just couldn't justify myself buying again.
Yeah,
So I haven't
they had
got
the habit
Yellow
of doing
Jacket.
that.
Yeah, exactly. I haven't got Yellow Jacket because I've got 3 Ant-Men. So I can't get another Ant-Man with a slightly different smug Paul Rudd face to justify getting Yellow Jacket. Although, having said that, in the current quarantine situation, I'm kind of stretching my rules a little bit. I've just got MJ and Spider-Man. So I now have an action figure of Zendaya for some reason.
Nice.
I don't have Peggy. I don't have Peggy Carter because she came with a Captain America. I do have nine Black Panthers, which some people would argue is too many Black Panthers, but I would say that they're
You're
wrong.
collecting the whole heritage of Black Panther there, like
Exactly. Yeah. It's and this is when he was walking down the street, and this is when he took a little stumble and he got back up, and this is
like
where
Cretaceous era of Black Panther.
yeah, exactly. I've got a ton of Black Widows as well. Yeah, I've got almost all of the MCU, I think. Then over on the other side, we've got a lot of Masterpiece Transformers, which are probably they're up there with the MCU Marvel Legends as my favorite line.
They're amazing, yeah.
They're excellent figures. They're really great. And then over on the left side of me here, we've got some 90s Jim Lee cartoon era X-Men figures.
Nice.
So that's the majority. There's a little bit of Lego going on up there as well. There's some Transformers alternators in the back here. There's alternators smoke screen. And then some NECA figures, some movie, some horror, and some action film figures up there.
Excellent.
As well.
That's an absolutely savage mix. So how did you find collecting in Ireland in general? Like, I live in Limerick, so there's absolutely nothing here. But I imagine Dublin is a lot better.
Well, yeah, these days Dublin is a pretty collector-friendly city, to be honest. And it wasn't always, though. In the very old days, obviously there was just toy shops. So, you know, you had your Toy Masters and your Tommies and your Roach's stores and stuff like that. So that's where, as a kid, I got toys, obviously. Then as I got into college, and I never really stopped collecting, to be honest, Brian. I kind of always collected a little bit. So even in my kind of late teens, I was still picking up an action figure every now and then when I saw them, and people go, "What are you doing buying that action figure? You're 16. You should be buying drugs." And I was like, "These are drugs for me. They're drugs." But yeah, so the kind of, as an adult collector, it was two things. It was Forbidden Planet in Dublin, which is probably the longest standing kind of comic book and nerd stuff shop in Dublin, and kind of the birth of eBay. A lot of my early collecting came from eBay. Almost all of those GoBots came from eBay. Oh. The ones who aren't childhood survivors. Then, you know, as I got a bit older and I became a fully grown man with a job and I had a bit more money to spend, Amazon, obviously, and, you know, various toy websites. Big Bad Toy Store was always expensive.
Especially with the import costs.
Yeah, man, importing figures is so expensive. And then you're on forums and you're seeing Americans saying, "I can't believe they have the cheek to charge $25 for this figure." Yeah. Like, oh man, I'd love to pay $25 for an action figure. Then for, you know, the imported stuff, it was a lot of time, it was Hobbylink Japan, which is a great website.
Oh, they're great, yeah.
Hobbylink Japan, so reasonably priced and bizarrely fast. You can order something in Japan, it's in your house in 3 days. How did that happen?
It's strange. Like, I found collecting stuff around the world, like the different.
Yeah. I mean, you buy something from an American website, it takes a month. You buy something from a Japanese website, it's there 3 days later. It's really weird. I just imagine like a very industrious Japanese workforce going, "Mr. Leonard requires his action figure. Let's bring it now." And they whisk it off to the post office and it flies over to me direct. It's incredible. But then you know, in recent years, I kind of have stopped spending as much money online, and I'm spending more and more money in kind of the local. I'm just looking at my camera now and realize I'm looking around the room. So since the viewers can't see what I can see, I probably look like a madman who's having visions of these imaginary action figures. So yeah, I'm spending less and less money online because I'm much happier these days to treat collecting as a hobby, to treat the act of purchasing as a hobby. There has to be a social side of it.
Of course. Yeah.
Otherwise, what's the difference between collecting and hoarding? So, you know, you have to have people who you're in a social group with. And for me, that kind of comes from going into shops, meeting people who have the same hobbies and interests in me, who have the same kind of bizarre passion about this kind of thing, and the desire to sit down and talk to you for 15 minutes about the articulation on Juggernaut's knees and how, you know, why the Marvel Select from 20 years ago had a 15 centimeter more helmet or something. It's that kind of, that's a terrible example, but that kind of...
No, you're dead right, because I'd be talking to my girlfriend and she's like, "What are you fucking on about?"
Yeah, what are you talking about? You're talking about they're all the same.
They're just toys.
Yeah, so the kind of birth of, you know, collecting in Dublin has been great because we have the big toy shops obviously carry a lot of these toys, and there are also the kind of chain specialist shops like Forbidden Planet. But what's been really great is the independent shops. The two that I particularly go to are Dublin City Comics in the city centre and Big Bang in Dundrum. And they're both fantastic because they're run by people who are into this stuff. Yeah. And you go in and you're not a hindrance that you want to go in and talk to them about all this stuff. You go in there and they're like, "Have you seen this? This is mad, isn't it? Look at his legs. Look how long they are. I don't think that's right." Maybe it is though. So, you know, having that kind of community. Then as well, there's also, because you have these kind of hubs, these social hubs of people who are collecting rather than just purchasing as a hobby. Yeah, there's a kind of growing secondhand scene, and you know, you might be in the shop and you'll see something you coveted in 1994 out of the corner of your eye. You just see him peeping out from behind a shelf. Is that who I think it is over there?
I didn't know I needed that today.
I didn't need that since 1994, but suddenly I do need that. Let's have a little look at that fellow, get him out here. So yeah, it's a very good city to be an adult collector of things in these days. When I would go on holidays in the olden days, Brian, I often went to I spent a bit of time in Japan, and I spent a bit of time in Hong Kong, and I've been to the US a couple of times. And for me, the highlights of those trips were going into shops and seeing these things on shelves and going, look, they're real in the wild. You can actually just go and get them.
Yeah.
And now a lot of that kind of joy has been taken away by the fact that things are readily available in Dublin anyway. So thanks, shops.
Your favorite toy growing up?
I have them here. Look, I've seen these interviews before, Brian. I came prepared.
Excellent.
So this is him here. Oh, a bit of a mishap. So this is Transformers Generation 1 Bruticus.
Oh,
Oops, a daisy. I don't know where my camera is.
There you go.
So he's an original fella. He's got some repro labels on him.
Nice.
But otherwise, he's completely original. I'm 38, Brian, believe it or not. You're probably shocked looking at
36,
my young
I am,
visage.
so not far off.
So I was around 9 or 10 when I got him, and I always thought he was like a Gen 1 original, and he is a Gen 1 original, but he's from that kind of European-only relaunch of Generation 1 Transformers, the classics in the gold boxes. And so that's the kind of line I grew up with. And each of these little fellas, I basically got them one by one over what seemed to me as a 10-year-old like months, but it was probably one a year, or sorry, one a week basically.
They're class.
They're great, aren't they? And they've held up pretty well. The repro labels really help.
I've lost a lot of mine.
But yeah, so Pocket Money basically gave me one of those a week. Felt like months, was probably 4 weeks, but it felt like months to my impatient 10-year-old brain. And then I got the central body, the Onslaught figure, that Christmas, and combined them into the main figure on Christmas morning.
Nice.
And I think to my parents' chagrin, that's what got me. That's why I've made this. Yeah, that's why I've made the decisions that have led to me appearing on Brian Regan's Action Figure Review.
So that was your favorite toy growing up. What would be your prized possession now?
To be honest, if my house burned down and I lost everything in this room, I would be very upset, but I'd get over it. I have pets and I have people that mean more to me. Obviously, I do have a couple of favorite things though. There's this guy, and you're probably looking at him and going, Mick, that's bloody Onslaught from Generation 1. What are you talking about? But this is a Korean double-size knockoff of Onslaught.
Oh,
I've taken this guy's tank leg off. So back pre-Titan's Return and basically everything G1 coming back every 3 years, this guy was the grail for Transformers collectors, because these are Generation 1 Combaticons that scale with, when this guy's in truck mode, he's as big as Generation 1 Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
And then you get a combiner out of them that's a combiner size.
That's proper
not smaller.
Size,
not smaller than Ultra Magnus. Now, he's only ever so slightly taller than a Titan's Return combiner. So he's not that impressive anymore, but I basically learned Korean to be able to go online and buy this damn thing.
That is dedication.
So yeah, he's pretty important. And then I have this one here as well. This is Alternator's Hound. He's another one of my favorites. He's a bit dusty. This was my first Christmas gift from my current lady friend. We've been together for 15 years. And she got him for me on eBay the first Christmas we were together, after listening to me rambling about how certain Transformers were hard to find and difficult to fill a collection. And I never thought, 15 years ago, telling a girl about what Transformers are hard to find could possibly result in it showing up on a Christmas morning. But so that was a big moment for me. And this guy has a lot of sentimental value.
Awesome.
So yeah, they're my two favorites, I think. I know I'm worried that I've hurt the feelings of the other guys though. Sorry guys. You're all special. Don't listen to what I said about that fire thing.
Special in their own way.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly.
So
except some of the GoBots.
They're assholes. No, I don't. So what would be your favorite character from any pop culture, any movie?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'm going through a Thor phase at the moment, to be honest. Thor Ragnarok a couple of years ago was a kind of revelation for me in terms of going in expecting another superhero film and 3/4 of the way through going, this is a comedy. They've done a comedy, the sneaky bastards. So yeah, I'm going through a bit of a Thor phase. You can probably blame this on the Thor phase as well. Yeah, so I would guess Thor, but I've got a bit of a sweet spot for Prowl as well. I think Prowl, G1 Prowl, the Transformer turns into a cop car.
Yeah,
just an incredible design. Yeah, beautiful colors. A real bore, like a real by the book bore, but he just looks spectacular.
He just always stands out, like, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. If I see a Transformers collection, I'll gravitate towards the Prowl most of the time. I also, as a kid, had like the Mexican knockoff Prowl. A lot of Mexican figures made to Ireland. Yeah, it was bizarre. A lot of Mexican toys made their way to Ireland in the 80s for some reason. And one of my childhood Transformers was the Mexican knockoff of Prowl, which was kind of fun.
That's class.
So, yeah.
So
I think that's it. I think they're my favorites, but it'll change in 20 minutes.
I'm the same. I can love one thing and then 2 minutes later, I like this too.
Yeah, exactly.
Your favorite franchise? I'm going to guess Transformers, right?
It's probably MCU Marvel Legends these days.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really, you can bloody tell with this carry on going on here. I didn't choose this specifically for this interview, by the way. I just happened to be wearing it and said, well, no point changing.
The Venom t-shirt here as well.
Oh, very good, yeah. On brand, so. Yeah, no, I'm really into the MCU Marvel Legends these days to the point where I have to stop myself buying a fifth Paul Rudd. But I've eased off Transformers a little bit. I made a deal with myself mostly a couple of years ago and said, look, Mick, listen, if you have the masterpiece version of a Transformer, don't buy that character again.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get a slightly cheaper, slightly not as good one. And if you're saying to yourself that these masterpiece figures are worth the money you're paying for them, they better damn well be the perfect representation of the character.
Yeah.
So if you see another one for €25, you're not getting it, or else you're a hypocrite and a liar. So,
and just on the Transformers,
yeah,
would you have to have like the Hasbro version, or would you
not at all.
Dip into the third-party market?
No, I've dipped into the third party. I have some third-party figures I really like, actually. This guy, I don't even remember his name. I think his name's Searchlight or something, but I don't know. Is he Fans Toys or is he? He was part of the Throttlebots reimagining that turned into a combiner. Oh, but I've only got him. Great figure. Absolutely fantastic figure. One of the best kind of deluxe car bots I have. It's really good. A bit expensive, but
I only have a handful of Transformers myself, but my absolute favorite one is I can't remember who makes him, but it's Galvatron anyway, but he's Tyrant. He's called.
Oh yeah. Was that Fans Toys? I find it hard to keep track, and a lot of them are actually the same companies at the end of the day. When you find out they're being made in the same factory. Yeah. But
So just to finish up, what would be your dream action figure line made by anyone and any franchise?
Right. So something esoteric, basically. I actually think we're living in the dream world of action figure collectors at the moment. Every time I made a wish list over the last couple of years, 2 weeks later it was bloody announced. So if you asked me this a year ago, I would have said a retrospective line of Marvel superhero movies done by Hasbro in the Marvel Legends style, and then they released Peggy and Red Skull, and then that's that ruined. So on that basis, I would say. You know what it would be? It would be a 1990s Tim Burton Batman released by Hasbro in the current Marvel Legends style. There you go. There's something esoteric.
And that's never going to happen.
I would have said that. None of this would have happened 10 years ago. So I'm coming back on this show in 10 years, Brian, and I go, there's my 1993 Tim Burton's Batman made by Hasbro. Look at him, Brian. Eat those words.
I would gladly eat them if they make them. I would love that too. So, if you want, if you have something to plug, you can plug that as well.
Well,
as we're here.
Sure, yeah. I have a couple of podcasts. You can probably tell from the whole setup here. I have a little production company. We're called Seomrabeag Productions. That's SEOMRABEAG, small room in Irish, because we're in the tiny room. That's our website, seomrabeag.com. A couple of podcasts. I do a podcast called Michael and Benjamin's Podcast with my good friend Benjamin, where once a week we get together and we talk about comic books and movies and TV shows and comic book TV shows and comic book movies and books and literature. We touch on action figures, but it's not an action figure podcast. Ben's not an action figure guy, which is why I was so excited to get on this show and talk to someone about action figures uninterrupted without Ben disrupting me. And then we have a little I run a little book club, a comic book club where people read a trade paperback, a collected issue of something, and then we all get together and discuss it, and we do a little podcast once every 2 weeks. That's called Collecting Issues. Collecting Issues, Seomrabeag. They're both on wherever you find podcasts.
Excellent.
Give them a listen or subscribe if you have the chance.
Awesome. So I'll be dropping the links for those in the description anyway, and I'll be subscribing myself. You can never have
Brian,
too many podcasts.
To interrupt you for a second, I don't know if you know this, but I was your third ever subscriber on your YouTube channel.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that's how long I've been following you.
Excellent. Thanks very much.
You go back to that first video and you find that comment from me.
God, I was so bad in that video probably.
Well, look, the only thing you can promise is you don't go back and look at my early stuff either, and then we're all good.
We call that a deal, so.
Yeah, exactly.
So thanks anyway for coming on, man.
Thanks a million, Brian, for having me.
Everybody that's watching, check out his podcasts and stuff, and thanks very much for the interview, and we'll be seeing you soon, guys. So that was my interview with Mick Leonard, Transformers, Marvel Legends collector, and much, much more. He runs his own podcast. The links will be in the description. If you want to check those out, please do. And thank you once again for tuning in to another pop culture interview. I hope to see you back soon for more interviews, reviews, and more. And if you enjoyed me a lot, please hit that subscribe button. It would help a lot to grow my channel, and I would appreciate it so much. So thank you very much, guys. We'll see you again soon. Bye.